please put your hands together for a
Thank you for inviting me here today. My name is Shaun Frankson, and today I get to talk about pretty much my favorite topic that I could, which is how to do what you absolutely love to do for a living. It may sound cliche, but it's something that's very easy to do when you just have the right game plan and a little bit of motivation. So before I get into exactly how that works, I'd just like to start with a little story that comes back from the days of the Greeks. It involves this little guy right here. The Greeks observed a really cool dynamic in nature between a fox and a hedgehog. And it turns out this little guy would love to go for little long walks just down an empty path and mind his own business. But in this particular story, he didn't realize that up ahead, about 50 feet, was a fox. The fox was sitting perched in a long meadow, waiting for the hedgehog to come. And the fox is a smart, cunning creature. Fox is a great hunter. And he was just waiting for that hedgehog. So the little hedgehog gets closer and closer, looking cuter and cuter with every step. And the hedgehog just salivates as he looks tastier and tastier. And as soon as the hedgehog pulls within a foot of the fox jumps out and attacks. But in a second, the hedgehog does this. He turns into a ball of spikes, and the fox is instantly rejected. He yelps in pain, he screams, he runs away, but then he looks. The fox is cunning. The fox thinks, I can outsmart this guy. I know how to attack. I know so many things. So the fox goes up ahead, he goes to the other side, and thinks, I'll attack from the left. He does it, and the same thing happens again. Every single time the fox tries to attack, the hedgehog does this. And what the Greeks noticed is that the hedgehog always wins in this battle. And it's simply, the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog, he knows one big thing. And that one big thing is enough to make the hedgehog invincible. And this is such a cool principle that they apply to life, that if you know your one big thing, the thing that you can be great at, you can be unstoppable. There's a business book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, which is a great book. Totally recommend reading it. He tried to look at the most successful businesses and find the common factors. What he actually noticed was that the great companies, they were like a hedgehog. They knew what they were passionate about. They became the best at what they're passionate about and became their economic engine. It's how they made the money. And when it turned out that in worse times, the company could always go back to their hedgehog. When times got tough, people stopped buying, they went to the hedgehog. But the same principle it goes to people. I mean, every single one of you is really, you are Me Inc. You are your own company. And when you go through life treating yourself as a company and thinking, on behalf of your own company, what's the best decisions, you're just the same. And just as the hedgehog principle applies to the most successful companies, it also applies to the most successful people. It's the people who can say that I'm passionate about this, I love this, I love to get good at it, I get so good that I make money doing it. And really, as I talked about the hedgehog principle and as finding that one big thing, if you're going to have one big thing that you do in your life, it should really be the thing that you love to do. It just makes perfect sense. So it takes you to that first question, and it's tough. The younger you are, the more vague this question is. The first question is just really figuring out, what's your passion? What do you love to do? What do you get excited about when you talk about it? Now, just to show of hands, who here knows what their passion is? We got a couple, and this is honestly a lot more than I expect. I honestly had no clue at your age what I love to do, what I like to do. I simply went with the flow and just let things be. But we're asking anyone who didn't have their hand up, have you ever spent a day just thinking with a notepad, going wherever you think best, and just, what do I love to do? I know in school they kind of play with the idea, but never in the best way. It's usually focused on what would you be doing, not what do I love. But it should always start with what do you love to do. And if you haven't figured out in a day, take a week, take a month, take a year. Just going out, experiencing everything you can, and just thinking, what do I love to do? If you've never experienced the thing that you love, you might never find it. But the more you take opportunities, especially as a student, whether you're in high school, college, university, people love to have people volunteer and just help out. It gives you an opportunity to just say, I would never want to do that for a living, these people are miserable, or oh my God, I've never seen people so happy. And when you can relate to, if I could be doing that for a living, I would be so happy. Life becomes so good. So the more you can go out and experience things and realize, I would love to do that, life becomes so much easier because you have a starting point. You know, even the other thing, if you're not quite sure of what you love to do, often your friends and family do. You can find you can talk to people who know what you get excited about. They tell you to slow down because you started getting all excited about these kind of things. You get happy when you talk about it, and you might not even realize it. And a lot of times, it might not even be obvious there's a career being what you're good at. But when you find that passion, it just gets so easy to drive forward. In Alice in Wonderland, they actually had a really cool quote. And this is from the actual book. It's tough to read from my angle, but it basically goes like this. When Alice meets the Cheshire Cat, she asks the cat, which way should I go? The cat asks, well, I guess that depends where you're going. To which Alice replies, I don't know where I'm going. Then simply, it doesn't matter which way you go. And this is so powerful because really, if you don't know your destination, you don't have a clue of what your passion is, where you're trying to go, it becomes really tough to make decisions that get you closer to the place you don't even know exists. Now for Alice, the cat's point is you can wander around the forest for all he cares because she has no place she's trying to get to. But once you can actually just take that one step further, have a passion, and connect that passion to a career path, it starts becoming a lot clearer. You start having a starting point. You start realizing that I love to do this. I would love to do this every day for a living, and I could do it if I had that as a career. I could do it if I had that. The more you start identifying what that passion-connected career path is, the easier it is to have a destination. And now when you have a destination, you can start making decisions that are just based on a simple principle of, is this getting me closer or farther away from a destination? There's really nothing that just lets you stand still because time is something you never get back. If you waste a day playing video games doing nothing, that's a day that you could have been slightly closer to where you're trying to go. And now there's a cool example of this with Jack Sparrow. In one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, he had a compass. And the compass appears to be broken. Jack can't get anywhere with the compass. When they ask, what's with the compass? They say, true enough, this compass does not point north. Where does it point? Well, it points to the thing in the world that you want the most. And if you think of it, we don't need a compass to do this. If you have a picture of where you're trying to go, and it keeps getting a little bit more clear, it's easy. Our own minds have this compass. We have the world's greatest supercomputers right in our minds. And it's so easy to look at something and make a decision. You have a gut feeling. You can just ask, is this helping me? Is this getting me closer? And just like the compass, you can always be pointed in the right direction. You might not get there in a single week, but if you're moving forward, you're always getting closer to your goal. And that's really the whole thing. And what gets sad, there's a lot of people who have a goal. I shouldn't even say they have a goal. There's a lot of people who have a dream. There's a lot of people who realize, I would love to do this for a living, and they leave it there. There's a lot of people who realize, I'd love to do this for a living, and this could be my career path, but that's all it goes. The difference between a dream and a goal is action. If you just think of something you'd love to do, that's a dream. Tons of people have dreams. Tons of miserable people have dreams. I would say the average person has dreams. But what really separates the average person from a successful person is the fact that they have a goal. It's something that they work towards. There was a really cool book by a guy named Richard St. James. It was called Stupid, Ugly, and Lucky and Rich. He interviewed tons and tons and tons of successful people. And he asked them, what made you successful? And every single successful person had passion as one of the main things. They were passionate, they connected it to what they could be doing, and then they worked towards that passion because they loved getting better. Now again, where I say it's a good thing that you're not average is because of a really scary thought. It's the average person doesn't like what they do for a living. So many people just settle on what's available, they randomly hop into an opportunity, and just simply look to get paid a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. There are tons of people who do make a good living doing what they love, but the average person doesn't. And this is where I say the average person has dreams. You guys being here today are already proving that you're not average. You're moving closer to anywhere you're trying to go. I would dare say the average person your age isn't at an event like this. The average person your age is probably watching television right now. So I hope you won't look at the thing that stops the average person from really turning a dream into a goal. And for the most part, something that I call the experience gap. And that's to get the job, you need experience. But you can't get experience when no one will give you the job. Therefore, since you'll never get the experience, you can't get the job. And a lot of people just quit. I know especially the younger you are, when you don't have the first job, it gets harder to get that first job because they're looking for someone who has a job. And it's this endless cycle. And it doesn't matter how long that goal is. If you have a goal to be something, there's going to be an experience gap. Chances are, if you come home, realize your passion, say, I love to do this, here's a career, It's a little more complicated than saying I'm just going to go do my job interview and land my dream job. And it's the experience gap is where the true strategy of doing what you love for a living comes into play. And the experience gap, as I said, is what really does stop the average person, but it shouldn't stop anybody. The experience gap is awesome. If you run into the experience gap, it means one, you found a job that you want, something to be happy at, and two, you've identified the experiences that you're missing. So really, when you can identify experiences, as you have a long goal, you also have short-term goals to get there, which really just outline every single thing you need to do to get that long-term goal. I mean, Henry Ford had an awesome quote, and he said, obstacles are those frightful things you see when you take your eyes off your goals. So meaning if you see your goal and it's so clear, you just keep working towards and nothing can distract you. But where you lose sight of the experience gap is thinking that you don't have something, therefore you can't get it. And this is really something that I've specialized in over the last 5 years, of simply just creating your own experience. It can be tough to wait for other people to give you opportunities, give you experience. But when you learn how to create your own experience, you take your whole destiny into your own hands and you work at your own pace. And really when you work at your own pace, everything's good. So instead of getting a little preachy, I figured I'll just take a step back and tell you a little bit about what I did, what worked for me, and how I was able to bridge my own personal experience gap faster than I would have ever thought possible.